Colorado Buffaloes may not play on Saturday, but that doesn't mean they can't benefit from things happening around college football.
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I am your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You could start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcasts. What's up? This was supposed to be originally Friday's episode topics, but recorded the whole episode, went to edit it. Boom, no audio. It was great. 25 minutes just gone. So I figured, hey, it was a fun discussion with me, myself, and I as I was muted, but there's still a lot that people need to know. So Colorado, as we all know, not playing today on Saturday, right? Week 10 of the college football season. That does not mean at all that they can't benefit from games that are taking place. So I'm going to walk everyone through what I think the perfect Saturday looks like for the Colorado Buffaloes in order for them to best compete for the college football playoff. If you're in the comment section, what's up? I appreciate all you guys for tuning in. Okay, let's go through it. Starting with the Big 12 games, because I think those are the ones that impact Colorado the most in the sense of Colorado's easiest path to the playoff is winning the Big 12 title. And you can't do that if you can't play for the Big 12 title. So starting with all the Big 12 games, you got to have Texas Tech take down Iowa State. Iowa State and BYU, or both, or Iowa State or BYU, or both of them, need to lose 2 games, right? Or need to lose at least 1 game, but it has to be by a common opponent. It'd be easier if they lost 2 games, needless to say. They play against Texas Tech. It's going to be a tough one for Texas Tech to win. It's going to be a cold, brisk day in Ames, Iowa, and Texas Tech is obviously known for hucking the ball around. I don't know if it's the best huck the ball around weather, but this is a perfect case scenario. So wish list for Colorado. Texas Tech beats Iowa State. Then Houston upsets Kansas State. Houston is one of those teams where they've oddly played some teams a lot closer than expected. So they almost beat Oklahoma. They did beat TCU, and then they beat Utah. And so it's like, okay, what is this team capable of? But then they lose, they get blown out by Kansas. And so we don't really know how good or bad. Like, we know this Houston team's not going to be contending for much, but we don't know what they're capable of if everything goes right on a day. So I fully think that there's a possibility, a long shot, let me add, that they can upset the Kansas State Wildcats. Then you need Oklahoma State to take down Arizona State, right? Arizona State is kind of on the fringe of contention in the Big 12. They're on the outside looking in. Right now, the top 4 teams in the Big 12 are BYU, Iowa State, Kansas State, Colorado, TCU, Texas Tech, Cincinnati, West Virginia, Arizona State. A lot of things could change if these top teams start losing. So you really need Arizona State to take down Oklahoma State, or Oklahoma State to take down Arizona State. Excuse me. UCF and Arizona doesn't really matter because neither of those teams are contending for much. And then Baylor, TCU. It's one of those things where TCU is currently right behind Colorado. So a loss there sort of gets them off of Colorado's necks. And then around the country, because obviously I think there's a chance that if Colorado doesn't make it to the playoff, there's a chance that they might get an at-large bid, but that would require a lot of things happening. So you would need, obviously, Penn State and Ohio State play each other. Ohio State losing would move a lot of mountains, right? They're playing right now as we speak. They're on the background of my television. They're up 17-13 at the time of this recording. Ohio State losing changes a lot of things because then they drop to 2 losses. And then, again, they have a matchup with Indiana on the horizon and then a matchup with Michigan. And it's like, will they win out? And if they don't, they're at 3 losses, assuming they say they lose to this Penn State team. So I don't think it's a team with 3 losses making the playoffs. So there's that. Miami is currently getting upset by Duke, and Duke needs to pull that one out, right? I don't think the ACC is going to get a lot of respect. I just don't. And I don't know if Miami's going to get a lot of respect because they've shown some flaws lately, right? Ole Miss would have been nice that they lost to Arkansas, but they're currently up 42-17, so I doubt that will happen. Army's up 10 points over Air Force despite their quarterback being out. Illinois is a team that Colorado needs Minnesota they need Minnesota to beat Illinois, right? Minnesota has a chance to sort of knock Illinois out of contention. They're sitting at 6-2. I think a loss not only drops them out of the playoff contention, but drops them out of the top 25, which is another spot that Colorado can obviously move up. And then Florida, Georgia, obviously a loss to Georgia helps a lot of teams, right? So you guys know Colorado, even though they're not playing, they can benefit a lot. So that's the wish list for them. And then the wish list is get healthy, sort of get everyone back to full form and ready for that battle in Lubbock next Saturday. When we come back, I'm going to be talking about where the Buffs need to improve in order to win out the rest of the season. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate football fan isn't just a hobby, it's a way of life. It takes a lot of energy to power through the all-day tailgates, touchdown celebrations, or an agonizing second overtime, which is why they've created the Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot with a special flavor called Fan Fuel, the energy shot made just for super fans like us. The fans who are first in the parking lot and the last to leave, we see you, and this is just for you. You know what else gave me a bit of Buffs fan fuel this week? The moment when Travis Hunter went on College game day, or a Big Noon, excuse me, and was talking about making his case for the Heisman, right? I think Travis Hunter has a legitimate case for the Heisman, and that fueled me up. That got me fired up because I feel like he sort of is seeing his chances grow each and every week. Another Ashton Genty sort of dud performance. So 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. Whether you're prepping for the big tailgate or ironing your jersey, your game day to-do list is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to help keep you fueled throughout the season. What's your fan fuel this week? Whatever it is, do it with the 5 Hour Energy, available on 5hourenergy.com. And they ship nationwide. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. And guys, we're having a lot of fun. We're growing the show. We're on the horizon of 7,000 subscribers. I would love to get there before the season ends. A little ambitious, but I think we could do it, right? We're gonna have some awesome guests coming up, so it'll be fun. Let's talk about where Colorado needs to improve. I think there's a handful of aspects that stand out to me, and it's not to say that this Colorado team's not a whole lot better than they were last year. I think this year's Colorado team would probably beat last year's Colorado team by 40 points. Defensively, they're much better. Offensively, they're more balanced. And special teams wise, Alejandro Mata has been absolutely killing it this year. So let's talk about the thing that stands out to me the most, which is penalties. Penalties have been plaguing Colorado a lot this season. They're one of the most penalized teams in the country. I don't know how you can improve on penalties this late in the season. Like, it's a discipline thing. It's a just execution thing. And I wouldn't say this Colorado team's as undisciplined as last year's, but clearly they're struggling to prevent the refs from throwing those little yellow things, right? I don't really know. Like, I don't really want to see this Colorado team lose a game because of a controversial penalty. Obviously, no one play should decide a game, but we all know, like, that penalty killed us. And for instance, last year in the Stanford game, when I think it was Travis Hunter shoved a receiver, it was like 3rd and 15 or 3rd and forever, and Travis is like, he's like shoving a receiver after a 3rd down conversion. Stanford gets a first down. Next thing you know, they're driving touchdown, and all of a sudden, Stanford comes back, right? Like, we remember that all too well. And I don't think that this team like screams undisciplined. I just think they have untimely penalties, and you just can't have that, right? You can't have those untimely penalties because that's what hurts you in games. And I think Coach Prime's done a hell of a job with this team this year, but I would like to see those penalties come down. Next thing that they can improve on. This is more of an individual, and it's not meant to single him out. It's meant to sort of be like, I know he could be better because we've seen him be better, which is Shiloh Sanders. I think he's catching a lot of heat on social media. A lot of people are like, this guy's not good. Like, why is he playing? They should play Carter Stottmeyer over him. And yeah, Shiloh Sanders hasn't been the same player that we've grown to know, that we've grown to love as the CEO of the Headache Gang. And he's been missing tackles. He's been getting burnt in coverage. Like, I think regardless of what's going on with the rest of the team, like obviously there's a lot of success. I think I would like to see Shiloh Sanders improve back to the form where he was, like where he was playing for Colorado, where he was an impact player and not someone who they had to worry about being somewhat of a liability in the back end. Third thing, excuse me, not my second thing. Third thing, what this isn't really an improvement, but it's something that I'd like to see them continue to improve on, which is the willingness to run the ball. I've really enjoyed the emergence of Isaiah Gustav. His impact is a lot greater than his stats indicate. Like, I think if you were just stat box looking, you would look at him and be like, he has 271 rushing yards. Like, what are you talking about? Like, how is that impactful? But it's the timeliness, it's the effort, it's the drive that he has on each of those runs. Like, he's trying. Like, he is full speed ahead. He's trying to make moves in the backfield. He's breaking he's breaking tackles, getting yards after contact. He is really the run game right now. And Micah Welch, obviously, that would be another thing, is you want to see people improve upon their health, which isn't anything that they could do, but Micah Welch would be great to have back. Deion Hayes, not really sure what's up with him. Like, there's a lot of guys where it's like, if they had them, this team would be clicking even more. And so those are where I think the team needs to improve. You guys comment below where you think Colorado needs to improve as they try to go undefeated and make it to the college football playoff, undefeated down this final stretch, of course. When we come back, I'm going to be answering some of the mailbag questions that I received earlier this week about all things Colorado. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, excuse me. And we're going to have a lot of fun here. If you guys have questions in the comments below, let me know. I'll hit you with a little drop, some questions. But I had 3 or 4-ish questions that I thought were really fun to talk about. Starting with, is Julian Lewis the only option at quarterback for Colorado? And obviously a lot of things can happen. There's a lot of craziness out there. You never know who's going to emerge where, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. But just based on how recruiting goes, quarterbacks usually lock things down as soon as possible. So I think Julian Lewis is the biggest play they have left. Looking at the top, I think it's 40 quarterbacks. Only 2 of them are uncommitted, and Colorado hasn't offered either of them. Jamar Malone, who's a 3-star, 6'2", out of Daphne, Alabama. And then there's also, which he's in Coach Prime's neck of the woods, Fort Myers, Florida, Carter Smith, 158th player in the country, 4-star. He is uncommitted, but he was heavily favored to end up in Michigan. So that was the biggest question, or one of the most interesting questions that I thought, because I think people at Colorado are starting to understand that, like, there's a chance that Colorado can land Julian Lewis, but there's also a possibility that they don't. And if they don't, what's the path off to the NFL? Like, do we trust Ryan Staub? Like, we've seen some bright moments out of Ryan Staub when he filled in, but he's someone who does he have that factor? Like, does he have that it factor? Is he going to be enough to fill in for Shedeur? They have Walter Taylor, the Wade twin, the Bethune-Cookman transfer. All these guys are super inexperienced, have not proven anything. So Colorado would theoretically, if you're going to take a chance on someone who is unproven, you would prefer for it to be a 5-star quarterback. Or their other option is the transfer portal, right? I think Colorado has shown that they have a lot of success in transfer portal. They've never had to land a transfer portal quarterback under Coach Prime that was going to start. Emphasis on going to start. Don't say they landed all these quarterbacks. Emphasis on going to start. So I think that would be a difficult task, right? Because it's like, okay, you have to come play here where is there going to be a quarterback that can manage a poor offensive line like Shador does? Is there going to be a quarterback that they think aligns with their future or whatever? But there's going to be tons of quarterbacks in the portal as there is every year because there's guys like Devin Brown at Ohio State, who I'm the game's on the background. Like I said, he's a former 5-star that's sort of waiting his turn. There's also guys like Julian Sayin, which I'm not saying any of these guys will transfer or Colorado would land him, but these are just guys that I'm coming up with off the top of my head where it's like they might transfer. They could take a shot on Colorado, or Colorado could take a shot on him, right? But you never know. You just simply never know what the portal is going to hold. But I do think that Julian Lewis is probably Colorado's only recruiting target. At least that makes sense at the moment. The next question I got is Colorado really a top 25 team? They haven't beaten anyone. And that was a question, not me saying that. And my answer to that is Colorado's a top 25 team because one, they're ranked a top 25 team. Two, outside of two blemishes, which one, Nebraska I think Nebraska was like the final hoorah of like Coach Prime playing the style that he really wants to play, where it's just like, we're going to air this out 100 times. And it's like, you can't do that and win games. Like, you just can't. And so one of those things I think they learned, and which I've said this, Colorado's undefeated this year when they run the ball 14 or more times. So basically, when they're balanced, they haven't lost a game. So outside of the Nebraska game, which I think if they played Nebraska again, they'd win. And then the Kansas State game, they had a chance to win late, and they dropped it. They dropped the ball on that one, not literally, but metaphorically. They've handled all their tests. Like, you can't be mad at a team for not having 5 top 25 teams on their schedule. It's like Colorado's beating the teams that they've played. They're doing so by double digits. They beat Arizona by double digits. They beat UCF by double digits on the road. They beat Cincinnati by double digits. Like, Colorado is handling all the tests that are thrown their way. You can't be mad that like they're ranked because they're playing the teams on their schedule. Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So Colorado is definitely a top 25 team in my eyes. I think if all things go right, like if they continue to win, they're going to be a college football playoff team, or they have an outside shot, a puncher's chance, if you will, at being a college football playoff team. So that's my answer to that. And then the final question that I really thought was interesting, centered around Travis Hunter's Heisman candidacy. I think realistically, Travis Hunter can win the Heisman. I think he's going to be a finalist. I would put money on that. If I was a gambling man, which I'm not. But Travis Hunter needs to continue to have games like last week where he's doing a lot on offense, right? Defensively, a couple tackles, an interception, a pass deflection here or there. That'll sort of feed the satisfaction of the voters. But offensively, he needs to have 100-yard receptions and multiple touchdown games. And he needs Ashton Genty to not break that record. And it's looking like Ashton Genty is not going to break that record. I think teams have just really committed to stacking the box. Yesterday, Sean Lewis's San Diego State squad played against Boise State. And Ashton still got his numbers, but his numbers have taken a major hit. It's not like the 10 yards per carry that he was getting. He had 31 carries for 149 yards, which is 4.8 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. And I think for him to win the award, he has to break the record, and Boise State has to make the playoff. And I think Boise State's going to make the playoff as the Group of 5 team. I just don't think he's going to break the record. I just don't. It's unfortunate for him. I would have liked to see it, honestly. Like, it's cool to see records that have been standing for so long be broken, regardless of what level of football you're playing at. But I don't think he's going to get it. So that's my 3 mailbag questions. If you guys want your question answered, make sure to comment them below on any of the episodes throughout the week, so that way I could address them on Fridays. I appreciate all you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast, so make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. I will see you guys on Monday. I hope everyone has a great Saturday. Be safe, have fun, enjoy the college football weekend. There's going to be some really interesting games, so make sure not to miss out on that. This has been another episode of Locked On Buffs.